Good morning. That's quite a crew. That's quite a crew. Well, I think really they have respect for our country again. A year ago, they wouldn't have come. They wouldn't have even thought about it. Now we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. Everybody wants to be here. When I made the call, they came and they said, "There's really never been anything like it." You know, you'd have one president or one prime minister, but there's never been such a group. And these really represent the European nations, these people. And they're very good people. And they want to end the war. That horrible war with Ukraine and Russia. It's a horrible war. No, I thought I do. First, let him. Let them meet. You know, they haven't been exactly best friends, haven't gotten along very well, and I called President Putin yesterday, and I do have a good relationship, but it only matters if we get things done. Otherwise, I don't care about the relationship. I do have a good relationship with him, but I want to get things done. You know, I've solved 7 wars, we ended 7 wars. I thought this would be one of the easier ones, and this has turned out to be the toughest one. India, Pakistan, these were big ones. Also, all big ones, some going for 31, 32 years. One for 35 years, the Congo. I think of that. The Congo and Rwanda for 35 years. I got that one as done. I got them all done. But this one is the most difficult, and I thought it would be an easy one. So I hope President Putin is going to be good. And if he's not, it's going to be a rough situation. And I hope that President Zelensky, will do what he has to do, which is to show some flexibility. Also, that thing is a mess. This was started by Joe Biden. This was a war that should have never happened. Millions of people dead. The country is blown to pieces. Ukraine. And that's a shame. You know, my wife, Melania, wrote that beautiful note to President Putin about children. The children are devastated, taken away from their homes, the whole thing. And this is a war that would have never, ever, ever happened if we had a president, a real president. Well, I think the fact that maybe they're getting along a little bit better than I thought. Otherwise, I wouldn't have set up the 2 meetings. I would have set up the 3. It relaxed. But I think they're doing a little bit better. There's been tremendous bad blood. And again, this was all worked out by an administration that didn't have a clue. And you remember they said, well, if you made a minor incursion, that would be okay. That was it. That was the end of the whole thing, when Biden made that statement. But minor incursion, what does that mean? So I think they're doing okay. I wouldn't say they are ever going to be best friends, but they're doing okay. And we're just going to see. So we're setting up a meeting. I sort of set it up with Putin and Zelensky. And you know, they're the ones that have to call the shots. We're 7,000 miles away. In fairness, we've spent through the previous administration's $350 billion. Europe has spent a lot also, $100 billion. But it should be reversed. If we should have been in for anything, it wouldn't have happened. So that would have been much better. Because so many people, this is the biggest bad situation since World War II. There's been nothing even close. Well, the war really started over NATO and Crimea, and they wanted Crimea back. That was given, not a shot fired, by President Obama, and perhaps the worst real estate deal I've ever seen. There've been a couple of them. I'd say the Gaza Strip was a pretty bad one too, given by Israel. So they'd have peace. So they gave away a big percentage of their oceanfront property, and all of that gigged for peace. How did that work out? Not so good. And Crimea is the apple of Ukraine. It's so beautiful. And Obama gave it away. Nobody ever mentions that. If I ever did that, the fake news would be writing about me day and night for years. He gave it away. He demanded that they let it go. And Russia came in and took it. Just took it. Like candy from a baby. And it was really Obama's. That was pure and simple Obama's fault. What a terrible thing he did to that country. And so they lost their heart. They lost the heart and soul of Ukraine 14 years ago, whatever it might be. And it was so unnecessary to do that. That's when it really began, when Obama gave it away. And then you had a lot of other events, but you had, tremendous hostility. The people of Ukraine were mortified when that took place. That really began a lot of hatred when they gave it away. And they didn't have to. Not a shot was fired. They just took over, the most valuable piece and the biggest piece, surrounded on 4 sides by ocean. Just a little passage to get you back up to the mainland. The most beautiful piece of property you've ever seen. As a real estate developer, as I look at it now, you say, why the heck did he do that to them? And so there's great hostility. And maybe rightfully so. But one thing was NATO. They went in. They said, we want Crimea back. This was at the beginning. Now, Putin, in all fairness to him, he made a good deal. He got it from Obama, but they said, we want it back. And that was not exactly well received because it was like 12 years before. That's where Russia has its submarine base, and that's been there long before Putin. They've been there for a long time, long before Putin. And the other thing they said is, we want to be a member of NATO. Well, both of those things are impossible. Because again, long before Putin, it was a no-no by Russia or the Soviet Union or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so it's a similar thing as it gets larger, but very similar. But it was always a no-no. Russia said, we don't want the so-called opponent, or the enemy, let's use that term, on our border. And they were right. They were okay. And yet, they went in and they asked, with the United States, put us into NATO. And everybody knew. You just can't do that. They would never have agreed to it. This is before Putin, long before Putin. It was just a no-no. It was something that was never going to happen. So they asked for it, and they shouldn't have asked for it because it was, very insulting. They didn't know. They could have asked for many other things, but the other thing they wanted to do is get Crimea back. And that was given. They had built that. They were expanding everything, spending a lot of money, big oil, because Barack Hussein Obama gave it away.